test tomorrow. Go ahead and find the distance between those 2 points. Who's got an answer for me? That'll work. You got about 13. We're trying to find the distance. We're doing Pythagorean theorem, so we got the square root. The distance is going to be the hypotenuse, so we're going to be adding. And you want your change in x to be one leg, so from 3 to -4, that's 7. Change in y to be the other leg, so from -2 to +9, that's 11. And that gives you about 13. Any questions on that one? There's a decent chunk of your test is just doing that. Find the distance between 2 points. Now to make it a little bit more complicated, sometimes you gotta find the perimeter. Got it. 18.7 is correct. All right, sometimes they're easier than this one. Sometimes you have like straight vertical or straight horizontal sides where you just have to count the squares to get the distance between them. But sometimes you do see them like this where you have to do Pythagorean theorem more than once. In this case, we got to do it for all 3 sides. So if I make a triangle here, I got 2 and 5 as my legs. If I make a triangle here, I've got 1 and 6 as my legs. And if I make the right triangle here, that's giving me 4 and 6 as those legs. So just, like I said, Pythagorean theorem, get your hypotenuse for each of those. And when you add them up, you get 18.7. Sometimes, depending on where you round, your answer could be slightly different by like a tenth or so. Any questions on that one? Definitely going to see some perimeter on there. All right, midpoint's the other thing we got on there. Find the midpoint of those two ordered pairs. All right, who's got the midpoint for me? No? Jasmine? 10 and 8's correct. All right, so when you're looking for the midpoint, you're basically finding the average between the x values and the y values. So that means you take your x values, add them, and divide by 2. And that makes your new x value for the midpoint. Same idea for the y values. You take your two y values, add them, divide by 2. That gives you the y value for the midpoint, and that makes your ordered pair. You notice it's in the middle. It's the same distance from each of those two endpoints. So from 17 to 10 is 7, 10 to 3, also 7. From 4 to 8 is 4, 4 more gives you 12. That's what you want. It needs to follow that pattern. All right, so if we find the midpoint, we got to be able to find a missing endpoint also. I've got my missing endpoint. Aiden? -8 and 2's correct. All right, so we got our endpoint. We got our midpoint. We need to find that other endpoint. Again, a couple ways you could do this. To me, the easiest way is follow your pattern. So the x's went down by 5. So that means it's got to go down by 5 again to get the other endpoint. If I'm at -3, I go down 5. That gives me -8. The y values, they went up by 4. So if we go up 4 more from -2, that brings us to +2. The other thing you could do is start with your midpoint and do opposite, so ×2, and then subtract the endpoints values. To me, doing it this way, the pattern, I think is easier. Any questions on that one?